Hi everyone, it's Miss Gable again with the read aloud. We're going to be continuing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think we're on chapter 21 now. Goodbye, Violet. This gum, Mr. Wonka went on, is my latest, my greatest, most fascinating invention. It's chewing gum meal. It's that tiny little strip of gum lying there in a three-course dinner all by itself. What sort of nonsense is this? Said one of the fathers. My dear sir, cried Mr. Wong, when I started selling this gum in the shops, it will change everything. It will be the end of all kitchens and all cooking. There will be no more marketing to do, no more buying of meat and groceries. There will be no knives and forks at mealtimes, no plates, no washing up, no garbage, no mess. Just a little strip of Wonka's magic chewing gum, and that's all you'll ever need at breakfast, lunch, and supper. This piece of gum I've made just happens to be tomato soup, roast beef, and blueberry pie. But you can almost have anything you want. What do you mean it's tomato soup, roast beef, and blueberry pie? Said Violet. If you were to start chewing it, said Mr. Wonka, then this is exactly what you would get on the menu. It's absolutely amazing. You can actually feel the food going down your throat into your tummy. And you can taste it perfectly, and it fills you up, it satisfies you. It's terrific. It's utterly impossible, said Veruca Salt. Just so long as it's gum, shouted Violet. Just so long as it's a piece of gum that I can chew, then that's for me. And quickly she took into her own world record piece of chewing gum out of her mouth and stuck it behind her left ear. Come on, Mr. Wonka, she said. Hand over that bunch of gum of yours, and we'll see if this thing works. Now, Violet, said her mother. Let's not do anything silly, Violet. I want the gum, said Violet. What's so silly? I'd rather you didn't take it, Mr. Wonka told her gently. You see, I haven't got it quite right yet. There's still one or two things. Oh, the heck with that, said Violet. And suddenly, before Mr. Wonka could stop her, she shot out her fat hand and grabbed a stick of gum out of his little drawer and popped it into her mouth. At once, her huge, well-trained jaws started chewing away on it like a pair of tongs. Don't, said Mr. Wonka. Fabulous, shouted Violet. It's tomato soup. It's hot and creamy and delicious. I can feel it running down my throat. Stop, said Mr. Wonka. The gum isn't ready yet. It's not right. Of course it's right, said Violet. It's working beautifully. Oh my, what lovely soup this is. Spit it out, said Mr. Wonka. It's changing, shouted Violet, chewing and grinning both at the same time. The second course is coming. It's roast beef. It's tender and juicy. Oh boy, what a flavor. The baked potato is marvelous, too. It's got a crispy skin, and it's all filled with butter inside. But how interesting, Violet, said her mom. You are a clever girl. Keep chewing, kiddo, said her dad. Keep right on chewing, baby. This is a great day for us. Our little girl is the first person in the world to be a chewing gum meal. Everybody was watching Violet as she stood there chewing the extraordinary gum. Little Charlie Bucket was staring at her absolutely spellbound, watching her huge rubbery lips as they pressed and unpressed with the chewing, and Grandpa Joe stood beside him, gaping at the girl. Mr. Wonka was wringing his hands and saying, No, 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 it isn't ready for eating. It just isn't. You mustn't do that. Blueberry pie and cream, shouted Violet. Here it comes. Oh my, it's perfect. It's beautiful. It's exactly as though I'm swallowing it. It's as though I'm chewing and swallowing great big spoonfuls of the most marvelous blueberry pie in the world. Good heavens, girl, shrieked her mom, suddenly staring at Violet. What's happening to your nose? Oh, be quiet, Mother, and let me finish, said Violet. It's turning blue, screamed her mom. Your nose is turning as blue as a blueberry. Your mother is right, shouted her dad. Her whole nose has gone purple. What do you mean, said Violet, still chewing away. Your cheeks, screamed her mom. They're turning blue as well. So is your chin. Your whole face is turning blue. Spit the gum out at once, ordered her dad. Mercy, save us, yelled her mom. The girl's going blue and purple all over. Even her hair is changing color. Violet, you're turning violet. Violet, what is happening to you? I told you I hadn't got it quite right, sighed Mr. Wonka, shaking his head sadly. I'll say you haven't, cried her mom. Just look at the girl now. Everybody was staring at Violet, and what a terrible, peculiar sight she was. Her face and hands and legs and neck. In fact, the skin all over her body, as well as her great big mop of curly hair, had turned a brilliant purplish blue, the color of blueberry juice. It always goes wrong when it comes to dessert, sighed Mr. Wonka. It's the blueberry pie that does it, but I'll get it right one day. You'll wait and see. Violet, screamed her mom, you're swelling up. I feel sick, Violet said. You're swelling up, screamed her mom again. I feel most peculiar, gasped Violet. I'm not surprised, said her dad. Great heavens, girl, screeched her mom. You're blowing up like a balloon. Like a blueberry, said Mr. Wonka. Call the doctor, shouted her dad. Perk her with a pin, shouted one of the other fathers. Save her, cried her mom, wrinkling her hands. But there was no saving her now. Her body was swelling up and changing shape at such a rate within a minute it had turned it into nothing less than an enormous round blue ball. A gigantic blueberry, in fact. And all that remained of Violet herself was a tiny pair of legs and a tiny pair of arms sticking out of the great round fruit and a little head on the top. It always happens like that, sighed Mr. Wonka. I've tried it 20 times in the testing room and 20 Oompa Loompas, and every time one of them finished up as a blueberry. It's most annoying. I just can't understand it. But I don't want a blueberry for a daughter, yelled her mom. Put her back to what she was this instant. Mr. Wonka clicked his fingers, and 10 Oompa Loompas appeared immediately at his side. Roll Violet into the vote, he said to them, and take her along to the juicing room at once. The juicing room, said her mom. What are they going to do to her? Squeeze her, said Mr. Wonka. We've got to squeeze the juice out of her immediately. After that, we'll just have to see if she comes out. But don't worry, my dear. We'll get her repaired if it's the last thing we do. I am sorry about all this. I really am. Already, the 10 Oompa Loompas were rolling the enormous blueberry across the floor of the inventing room toward the door and led to the chocolate river where the boat was waiting. Her mom and dad hurried after them. The rest of the party, including little Charlie Bucket and Grandpa, stood absolutely still and watched them go. Listen, whispered Charlie. Listen, Grandpa. The Oompa Loompas in the boat outside are starting to sing. The voices, 100 of them singing together, came out and clear into the room. Dear friends, we surely all agree there's almost nothing worse to see than some repulsive little bum who's always chewing gum, very near as bad as those who sit around and pick their nose. So please believe us when we say that chewing gum will never pay. The sticky habit's bound to send the chewer to a sticky end. Did any of you ever know a person called Mrs. Bigelow? This dreadful woman saw no wrong in chewing all day long. She chewed while bathing in the tub. She chewed while dancing in her club. She chewed in church and on the bus. It was really quite ludicrous. And when she couldn't find her gum, she'd chew up the linoleum or anything that happened near, a pair of boots, the postman's ear, or other people's underclothes. And at once she chewed her boyfriend's nose. She went until at last her chewing muscles grew so vast that her face became a giant chin stuck out like a violin. For years and years she chewed away, consuming 50 packs a day, until one summer eve, alas, a horrid business came to pass. Miss Bigelow went late to bed. For half an hour she lay and read, chewing and chewing all the while like some great clockwork crocodile. At last she put her gum away upon a special little tray, and settled back and went to sleep. She managed this by counting sheep. But now, how strange, although she slept, those massive jaws of hers still kept on chewing through the night. Even with nothing there to bite, they were, you see, is such a groove. They positively had to move, and very grim it was to hear. In the pitch darkness, loud and clear, was sleeping woman's great big trap. Opening and shutting, snap, 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 faster and faster, chop, chop, chop. The noise went on and couldn't stop, until at last her jaws aside, to pause an extra open wide. And with the most tremendous chew, they bit the lady's tongue in two. Thereafter, just from chewing gum, Miss Bigelow was always dumb, and she spent her life shut up in some disgusting and that is why we try so hard to save Miss Violet Beauregard from suffering an equal fate. She's still quite young, it's not too late, provided she survives the curve. We hope she does, we can't be sure. Chapter 22, Along the Corridor. Well, 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 sighed Mr. Wonka. 2 naughty little children gone, 3 good children left. I think we'd better get out of the room quickly before we lose anyone else. But Mr. Wonka, said Charlie Bucket anxiously, will Violet ever be right again, or will she always be a blueberry? They'll dejuice her in no time flat, declared Mr. Wonka. They'll roll her into the dejuicing machine, and she'll come out as thin as a whistle. But will she still be blue all over? Cried Charlie. She'll be purple, cried Mr. Wonka, a fine rich purple from head to toe. But there you are. That's what comes from chewing disgusting gum all day long. If you think gum is so disgusting, said Mike, then why do you make it in your factory? I do wish you wouldn't mumble, said Mr. Wonka. I can't hear a word you're saying. Come on, off we go. Hurry up, follow me. We're going to the corridors again. And so, saying, Mr. Wonka scuttled across to the far end of the inventing room and went out through a small secret door hidden behind a lot of pipes and stoves. The 3 remaining children, Veruca Salt, Mike TV, and Charlie Bucket, together with 5 remaining grown-ups followed after them. Charlie Bucket saw that they were now back in one of those long pink corridors with many other pink corridors leading out of it. Mr. Wonka was rushing along in the front, turning left and right and left, and Grandpa Joe was saying, "Keep a good hold of my hand, Charlie. It'd be terrible to get lost in here." Mr. Wonka was saying, "No time for any more messing about. We'll never get anywhere at this rate we've been going." And on he rushed down the endless pink corridors with his black top hat perched on top of his head and his plum-colored velvet cocktails flying out from him like a flag in the wind. They passed another door, then another, and another. There were doors every 20 paces or so along the corridor now, and they all had something written on them, and strange clanking noises were coming from behind several of them, and delicious smells came wafting through the keyholes, and sometimes a little jet of colored steam shot out of the cracks underneath. Grandpa Joe and Charlie were half running and half walking to keep up with Mr. Wonka, but they were able to read what it said on quite a few of the doors as they hurried by. "Edible marshmallow pillows," it said on one. "Marshmallow pills are terrific," shouted Mr. Wonka as they dashed by. "They'll all be enraged when I get into the shops. No time to go in, though. No time." "Lickable wallpaper for nurseries," it said on the next door. "Lovely stuff, lickable wallpaper," said Mr. Wonka, rushing past. "It has pictures of fruits on it: bananas, apples, oranges, grapes, pineapples, and snoozeberries." "Snoozeberries," said Mike Teavee. "Don't interrupt," said Mr. Wonka. "The wallpaper has pictures of all these fruits printed on it, and when you lick the picture of the banana, it tastes like banana. When you lick a strawberry, it tastes like a strawberry. And when you lick a snoozeberry, it tastes exactly like a snoozeberry." "But what does a snoozeberry taste like?" "You're mumbling again, Mr. Wonka," said Mr. Wonka. "Speak louder next time. On we go. Hurry up." "Hot ice creams for cold days," it said on the next door. "Extremely useful in the winter," said Mr. Wonka, rushing on in. "Hot ice cream warms you up no end in freezing weather. I also make hot ice cubes for putting in hot drinks. Hot ice cubes make hot drinks hotter." "Cows that give chocolate milk," it said on the next door. "Ah, my pretty little cows," said Mr. Wonka. "How I love those cows." "But why can't we see them?" said Veruca Salt. "Why do we have to go rushing on past all these lovely rooms?" "We shall stop in time," called out Mr. Wonka. "Don't be so madly impatient." "Fizzing, lifting drinks," it said on the next door. "Oh, those are fabulous," cried Mr. Wonka. "They fill you like bubbles, and bubbles are full of a special kind of gas, and this gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground just like a balloon, and up you go until your head hits the ceiling, and then you stay." "But how do you come down again?" asked little Charlie. "You do a burp, of course," said Mr. Wonka. "You do a great, big, long, rude burp, and it comes up, and the gas, and down you come. But don't drink it outdoors. No one knows how high you'll be carried if you do that. I gave some to an old Oompa Loompa once out in the backyard, and he went up, 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 and disappeared out of sight. It was very sad. I never saw him again." "He should have burped," Charlie said. "Of course he shouted to have burp," said Mr. Wonka. "I stood there shouting, 'Burp, you silly, burp, or you'll never come down again.' But he didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't. I don't know which. Maybe he was too polite. He must be to the moon by now." On the next door, it said, "Square candies that look round." "Wait!" cried Mr. Wonka, skidding suddenly to a halt. "I am very proud of my square candies that look round. Let's take a peek." And that's it for today. I'll be back next week to read some more for you guys.